Welcome. If you're looking for online therapists to help you overcome anxiety without depending on medications, then I invite you to take a look at my website. My name is Peter Strong. I'm a professional mindfulness therapist. I specialize in a system of psychotherapy called Mindfulness Therapy, also known as Mindfulness Meditation Therapy, that I developed some years ago now and have been perfecting over the last 10 years at least, and offering online to people who are interested in learning how to overcome emotional suffering without using medications or without years of talk therapy. This style of therapy that I teach is really designed to teach you practical methods that you can use yourself to work with your mind. These are methods that are based on years of experience and have been found to be extremely effective for treating anxiety and depression, and also for working with addictions and other forms of emotional suffering. So all emotional suffering is basically based on patterns of reactive, conditioned habits. Anxiety is not a disorder, it's a habit. Depression is not a disorder, it's a habit. These are habits that we learn. We are not born with anxiety or depression. These are habits that we acquire, usually through the experience of emotional trauma and other forms of emotional suffering that we are unable to resolve at the time, so that they become stuck and then they form reactive habits. But really the problem is simply the habits themselves, and we need to focus on changing these habits, and this is what we do during online mindfulness therapy. We change the underlying psychological habits that create your anxiety or depression. And we do this by cultivating mindfulness, which means that instead of avoiding your anxiety or depression or emotional trauma, we actually approach it in a very mindful and conscious way. This will include meditation. That's why I use the term mindfulness meditation therapy, because we understand the importance of learning how to meditate on our anxiety or depression or other emotional pain. If you try to avoid it, it will not heal and will simply grow. If you try to reject it or suppress it, or distract yourself away from your unpleasant feelings, then that will reinforce the underlying habits, and the emotional suffering doesn't heal. The tried and tested way to heal anxiety and depression is to meditate on your anxiety or depression. Now, this is a skill and a training. It takes some practice, and that's my job. I will teach you exactly how to do this, how to meditate on your anxiety, to help it resolve and heal. Healing is the objective here, not just treating symptoms or trying to manage anxiety. We're not trying to manage it, we're trying to heal it. And the same goes for depression and the other forms of emotional suffering that we experience. So if you would like to learn more about how to overcome anxiety or depression without using medications, then please send me an email and let's schedule a Skype therapy session. I see people worldwide. All you need is a good internet connection and a quiet place to conduct your sessions, and then we can get started. the mindfulness training that I will offer, that I offer online, is very powerful, and people see changes very quickly. So medications may have some value in providing a temporary relief from symptoms, but medications are not going to change those underlying psychological habits. And often talking about your emotions and is really not getting to the heart of the emotions themselves and working on this reactive habit. That really requires consciousness much more than understanding. You have to see clearly what is going on. That brings with it choice, and choice allows you to begin to change the way that you respond to those conditioned stimuli, whether they're external or internal in the form of thoughts. Just because something unpleasant happens is not a sufficient cause for anxiety or depression. Even having negative thoughts in itself is not a cause of anxiety or depression. These can be seen as objects, and like any other object, they can be seen consciously without causing an emotional reaction. You can sit with your anxiety and not react. You can sit with a painful thought or belief or a memory, including traumatic memories. You can sit with those experiences and not react. That is the whole basis of mindfulness training. When you stop reacting, you stop feeding the emotional suffering. When you stop feeding the emotional suffering, it makes it possible for it to heal. And you can then participate in helping that emotional suffering heal. And this way, you're training the mind how to heal its own suffering. And this becomes automatic after a while. So mindfulness therapy is very effective because it does this, and it does it in a very focused and very practical way during sessions, and gives you the tools to practice between sessions. So most people see dramatic changes in the intensity of their anxiety or depression or other emotional suffering, usually within the first 3 or 4 weeks of working with me. And then what you learn will continue to grow, and you'll get more and more back to a state of well-being, which is our natural state. Anxiety and depression are not natural states of being. They are learned, habitual states of being. So if you'd like to learn more, and you like the idea of online therapy, and you'd like to work with me, then please send me an email and let's schedule a Skype therapy session. Thank you.